Right. And you just mentioned Metroidvania style games. Have you been following the not the creator, but one of the main developers for it, Igavania is what people call him. He's coming out with the game Bloodstained, which he
Yes, the one on Kickstarter. Yeah,
yeah
I've been hearing about it, and I'm probably gonna back it within the next week and a half.
yeah um interest what kind of makes me interested in it is the story behind the game as opposed to the actual game because for those people listening and maybe you if you don't know the full story. He was previously at Konami and he presented the game to them and they turned it down. This was in the middle of while they were starting to go completely mobile, which is a huge mistake, but they've said multiple times the future of gaming is mobile gaming. So while they're doing that mistake, saying nobody's going to play this type of game, nobody likes this anymore, and he takes it to, I think he said he took it to like 16 other developers, and they all shut him down. So then he just decided to make it himself, and now he's got, like, it's on track to being one of the biggest crowd-funded games that's ever been released. So I think that just
That doesn't
proves
surprise
all of
me.
these developers wrong.
Well, here's the thing for me. I feel that, whenever I hear people say, no one is ever going to do that, I give them this look of like, really?
Yeah.
The internet is very, very willing to prove your tale wrong.
Yeah.
And, Metroidvania has been coined because we all know what it is and we all like it.
Right.
So, I understand the concern by Konami, but, people will find, like, we also saw the same thing with Ukulele. People will listen and people will do it if you just give it a shot.
Yeah.
I do understand though, Konami is going into this mobile thing and thinking everything is going to be mobile, which I think is dumb because have you seen the PC business recently? Just saying.
Right.
It's kind of crazy. No, there's not going to be any, I doubt there's going to be any shift in the gaming industry that's going to be all mobile because, these games are getting much, much larger. It's becoming more complex.
Yeah.
And, if we're taking anything like Witcher, for example, like there's going to be a influx of really good console games for a while. And also mobile games you get kind of because, the quality on Android and Apple devices is not as up to par with regular handhelds,
And
which is unfortunate.
I think that's where Nintendo is going with their mobile games. I think they're just going to completely own the mobile market because their quality of games like Call of Duty, Battlefield, these huge games that all sell millions and millions and millions of copies, they release and then they get patched every week or every month to fix bugs and stuff in the game. Nintendo games release, and most of the time, that's it. They're perfect. They don't have any game-breaking glitches. There's pretty much nothing wrong with them. They might get one or two patches. An exception being Smash Brothers because they had to keep fine-tuning the fighting mechanics. But
well, it's also not even that. Aren't they also like trying to balance out all the fighters as well? That's why we're getting so many patches.
Yeah, that's what I was meaning by fine-tuning the mechanics.
Well, I mean, for a fighting game like that makes sense. So, I think because my problem, and that's why I love Nintendo as well, because Nintendo at least takes their time in QA tests.
Right.
I have a suspicion that Ubisoft, Activision, and EA do not.
Right, and
I don't want to be shady, but I know Battlefield 4 or The Sims or SimCity for that matter were not QA tested.
Right, and if you remember Assassin's Creed Unity, when it came out, there was a glitch on the PC where the faces didn't even show up during some of the cutscenes.
Oh my god, I've seen all the videos of those. Those are hysterical. But also, I'm like, really? Really? How could it have killed you? Do a QA test.
Yeah, it's
okay.
It's like they just hit render on the game, put it on the discs, sent it to whoever's QAing them. They played maybe 5 minutes, ran around, was like, okay, he can move. The game's good.
Yeah, I was like, this is your first draft. Okay, we're good. We'll just put it out now. And Perfect
Exactly.
logic.
And
They won't know the difference.
I think that mistake came from them working on two separate Assassin's Creed games at the same time instead of just focusing on one.
Yeah, that was weird. I didn't understand why they did that at all. My issue with having them do two games is that unless you're doing two different teams doing the same game or thing, let me rephrase that to make more sense in my mind, because that did not make sense. If you're gonna have two games of the same franchise go out, if you have two teams working on it that are separate, that's fine. But I honestly don't even know if that was the case with Ubisoft. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't.
Right.
I mean, considering the fact that basically Far Cry, Watch Dogs, and Assassin's Creed have been kind of the same, like, completely, I've been having a lot of concern with Ubisoft and their development tactics.
Yeah. Right. We kind of came to the same conclusion that one of the Square Enix games that they're going to be showing off may be Final Fantasy VII Remake. But what do you think the other might be? Do you think it could be a brand new IP entirely, or do you think there's some other franchise that they've worked on but have kept secret?
I mean, I think it would be cool to see a new IP come out. I mean, they're obviously not going to be talking about Bravely Second because Nintendo let that cat out of the bag on Monday. I mean, I think it would be cool for a new IP. Maybe something different. Maybe not an RPG or an adventure game. Maybe.
Have they ever done a first-person shooter style game? I don't believe so.
I don't believe they have either. I'm not entirely sure if I want them to do it, though.
I think a Destiny-style game that didn't focus on multiplayer, like they had multiplayer in it, but whereas with Destiny, the whole point is going
without the emphasis.
Yeah, and I think that would be interesting, personally.
Yeah,
because
I mean,
I used to play like all of the Call of Duties from Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 up until Ghosts. I played all of them, but after a while you just get tired of playing the same thing over. So I think if Square Enix came out with their own first-person shooter, or even if it was a third-person behind-the-back style shooter, I think they could make it interesting enough to where it would stand out compared to all of the other shooters.
Possibly. I mean, the problem with first-person shooters is that you gotta be really, really, really aware of what everyone else is doing, because if you're not, you're gonna be essentially like everyone else. Like, you have to find... I think they need to find something that works that's very unique for them. Because people like Valve have figured that out, because that's what happens with Team Fortress 2 and Left 4 Dead, which are two of the only first-person shooters that I consistently play, aside from, like, Star Wars Battlefront. Because, you know, in Team Fortress 2, you've got the deathmatch, but you've got all these characters that have very cool voices and different styles. And then in Left 4 Dead, you have the custom campaign creating and, you know, different mods that you can throw in, and you're killing zombies, so that's great. Whereas Call of Duty's just sort of become this very, like, boring sort of thing. There's nothing really unique about it.
Right.
And, you know, and that's why I feel like it's hard to be a first-person shooter, because you gotta find something that works specifically for you as the game. That I'm just gonna run with it, because that metaphor made no sense, but I'm gonna go with it anyway. It has to work with what makes that IP unique. Otherwise, no one's gonna care.
Right.